Hi kids, welcome to the second part of the video lesson. In this video, we are going to discuss about Ashoka's Dhamma, the objectives, the main principles, the means to spread, the Mauryan administration, and finally, the end of the Mauryan Empire. Now, coming to Ashoka's Dhamma. What does the word Dhamma mean? Dhamma is a Prakrit word for the Sanskrit term Dharma. It means religious duty. This Dhamma emphasizes on nonviolence, charity, mercy, truth, tolerance, and purity. It does not involve worship of a god or performance of a sacrifice. Ashoka felt that, like a father, the king has also a duty to instruct his subjects. What are the objectives of Dhamma? Now, there were many problems in the empire that Ashoka wanted to solve by introducing Dhamma. Now, what are those problems? When it comes to the empire, the people in the empire followed different religions. So, this sometimes led to conflicts. A large number of animals were sacrificed in Vedic rituals. Slaves and servants were ill-treated by their masters. There were quarrels in families and amongst neighbors. What are the main principles of Dhamma? Now, coming to the main principles of Dhamma, the main principle of Dhamma is nothing but ahimsa. That is the first and the foremost principle. So, Ashoka said that everyone should follow ahimsa. Okay, that is non-violence. And no animal should be slaughtered for sacrifice. They even said that people should be gentle with slaves and servants. People should respect others. People should treat all creatures with compassion. People should give gifts to Brahmins and monks. People should live in peace and harmony, and people should respect others' religion. So by respecting others' religion, it is in one way you want to convey that it is both wrong to praise one's own religion or criticize another's. And people perform a variety of rituals and ceremonies on occasions of childbirth or wedding. And Ashoka said that all these ceremonies are worthless. Means to spread Dhamma. Ashoka appointed officials known as Dhamma Mahamatas. Now, what is the work of these Dhamma Mahamatas? They went from place to place teaching people about Dhamma. And even Ashoka even got his message inscribed on rocks and pillars. Also, he instructed his officials to read his message to those who could not read it themselves. He built roads and rest houses and dug wells. He arranged for the medical treatment of both humans and animals. Ashoka set a personal example by strictly following the principles of Dhamma. And he started sending his messengers to spread ideas about Dhamma and Buddhism to different countries such as Greece, Egypt, Syria, and Sri Lanka. The next one is about the Mauryan administration. Now, when it comes to the Mauryan administration, it was based on the guidelines for good governance which was given by Chanakya in his book Arthashastra. We already discussed the other name for Chanakya is Kautilya and even Vishnugupta also. Okay, now how we can know that it was based on Arthashastra? Because the Indica of Megasthenes and the edicts of Ashoka, these two give us a detailed account of the Mauryan administration. Now, we have the main features of the Mauryan administration. The first one is Patliputra. We already know that Patliputra is the capital of the Mauryan Empire. So, this particular Patliputra and the area around the Patliputra was under the direct control of the emperor. Now, the king here appointed officials to collect taxes from farmers, herders, craftspersons, and traders. Officials could punish those who disobeyed the king's orders. Now, these officials were generally given monthly salaries. Messengers went to and fro, and spies kept a watch on the officials. Other provinces. Now, the vast Mauryan Empire was divided into provinces. Apart from Patliputra, each of these was ruled from the provincial capital. And there was some amount of control from Patliputra also. And the royal princes were often sent as governors. There were some local customs and rules which were followed. Other areas. Now there were some areas where the Mauryans controlled roads and rivers that were important for transport. In return, the emperor collected whatever resources were available as tax. The northwest was famous for its blankets and the South India for its gold and precious stones. Now the last one is about the forested regions. Now when it comes to the forested regions, the people who are living in these areas were more or less independent, but they were expected to provide elephants, timber, honey and wax to the kings. The next topic is life of the people in the Mauryan period. Now, villages. Now when it comes to the villages, most of the people were farmers. Other than farmers, we can even see herders also. Herders also lived in the villages. The next one is towns and cities. Now there were various towns and cities in the Mauryan Empire. Now the capital city Patliputra was large and it was beautiful. We had Takshila which was a gateway to the northwest including Central Asia. Now, Ujjain lay on the route from the north to south of India. The next one is about the forests. Now we had hunters and gatherers who lived in these areas. End of the Mauryan Empire. Now when it comes to the end of the Mauryan Empire, the most important thing what we have to remember is Ashoka died in 232 BC and the successors of Ashoka were weak and inefficient. And these successors, they used to fight, they were always fighting among themselves and they were disunited. And the empire was totally large and it was not easy to control the far-flung areas. Now Ashoka's policy of non-violence and ahimsa made the Mauryan army weak and inactive. That around from 261 BC, the Mauryans did not fight any war. Ultimately, in 185 BC, Pushyamitra Sunga, a general of the Mauryan army, killed the last Mauryan ruler and he established the Sunga dynasty. That's it for now. Thank you.